Many guitar shapes have spaccatoed my fiddle over the course of my career, but none quite like the Explorer. And sure, I'll admit, I was hesitant to think that I could possibly like the Gibson shape, but that never stopped me from exploring its distant cousins like the Jackson Kelly. I actually enjoy the shape so much that when I designed a guitar with my friend in luthier, the shape we came up with was Explorer style. But I'll never forget seeing them in the 90s on MTV from bands like Metallica, Foo Fighters, and even Static X. Explorers have always been a bold shape with tons of attitude, and I just unfortunately never played one. But I'm an adult now, so I can totally justify buying one for a YouTube video that's way too long to be considered a review, right? Hello, you wonderful folks. I've been working on this video for a while now because why review one guitar when you can, in essence, review 4? You know? Actually, the way this video came about is I've been jamming that Gibson V I bought for the Halloween video quite a bit, and I really like the Les Pauls that I tried in the Les Paul video recently. You guys also seem to really like the Les Paul video. I had fun making it. Seems like a win-win. But I wasn't sure what kind of Explorer I wanted to get, and that's how I ended up with this selection of guitars. We have 4 Explorer type guitars, ranging from the cheapest on this list being a Firefly to the most expensive being a Gibson 70s Reissue Explorer. So all of that jankily, I don't think that's a word, but just go with it, leads me into today's sponsor, Guitar Center, which is where I bought the guitars from. Now, normally with videos like this, which are loosely comparison based, I wouldn't include used gear because I don't think it makes for an even playing field. But I thought in this case, as you will see in this video, that the whole process of buying used gear might be a little bit insightful, you know, if you're not used to doing it. Just like with buying used anything, you really have to do your due diligence. We will get into all of that later on in the video. Speaking of later on in the video, everything is in chapters in this video, so if you want to skip to a specific part, you can go ahead and do that, or you know, you can just settle in and hang out with me and let me video at you. You know? So this whole quest started as I was casually perusing Guitar Center for an Explorer at like 1 a.m. in the morning. All right, so I'm looking for an Explorer here on the Guitar Center website. I pitched this idea to them to make a video similar to the Gibson one, but they haven't agreed to it yet, so, you know, maybe I shouldn't buy anything, but I think I'm just gonna go for it. This 80s Explorer looks pretty cool. I like this one a lot. This one's really cool too, but I think I prefer the black 80s Explorer, but 2500 is just a little bit out of my budget, if I'm being honest. Maybe we could find something used. This one's pretty sweet. Look at this, 1984 camo. 3 humbuckers, look at that. $4,600, yeah, definitely way outside my budget. Let's see what else they have. Oh, this one's sick. This would be a really cool guitar on camera, but obviously way outside my budget. I don't know if they would let me borrow this one maybe for the video, but I will do what I can on that. All right, a bunch of other stuff. I think I need to filter here by used. Let's just look at used gear and see what they have. 99 Gibson Explorer. This one looks pretty cool. Not bad. $2,200 though, out of the budget that I wanted to spend on this video. Maybe I need to look at some Epiphones because I'm not finding any Gibson Explorers that are near that price. Oh, there's a Melody Maker. It's got the goofiest headstock though. Look at that thing. It's kind of cool, but it's definitely not the one. Oh, sweet. This one's still available. I favorited this one a while back. This is Brendon Small from metalheads Thunderhorse. These are really cool. I actually just saw a video about these on the Trogly channel. And this one looks like it's in pretty decent condition. It looks like it might need to be cleaned a little bit. There's a lot of fingerprints on it, but that's not a big deal. I don't know how often these come up, but $900. I mean, that's not bad. Let's just add this to the cart for now and just keep shopping and we'll see. Oh, no way. This one's still here too. This is a Brendon Small Thunderhorse. This is actually a Ghosthorse. It's mislabeled. In my experience, if I find these things mislisted on the Guitar Center website, it's usually the listing that is incorrect, not the pictures. But, you know, that's just my experience. Take that for what it's worth. Okay, so this is the other Brendon Small signature guitar. I also just saw a Trogly video on this recently, coincidentally. This one looks like it's in really good condition overall. I'm going to add this one to the cart too. Let's keep looking to see if we find anything else. This one would be really cool. An Epiphone Lizzie Hale Signature Explorer. These are really neat. Not my favorite color though. All right, this is over what I wanted to spend on this video. We're at $1,719, but I think I'm just gonna buy both these guitars. I think that's the move. Let's do it. My shipping comes out to $45, which is pretty decent actually for 2 guitars. You know, the good thing about this also is if I receive both these guitars and I end up liking one over the other, I can just take one back to my local Guitar Center and get refunded for it. That is the nice thing about shopping with Guitar Center online. They do have several locations, and if you have an issue or something like that, you can just go in store to deal with it. A guitar-shaped box showed up today. Yay, my favorite thing ever, styrofoam. Look at this. I actually did a pretty good job not getting styrofoam everywhere. So this is a Explorer-shaped Firefly. It smells like it came out of a factory that makes plastic butt plugs. Look at this guy. Oh, it's very cool. And the Firefly weighs 7 pounds, 13.6 ounces. The non-Grover tuners, you know. Anyone who's familiar with Firefly guitars probably know how these things show up. You know, if you like it, if you like this aesthetic, if you like this shape, it's pretty cool. It's got a weird placement for the strap. So the strap is in Neck Dive City. This is a Firefly FFLX. Now take all of these specs with a massive grain of salt because I cannot find a reliable source for them, so we're just gonna go with what I found. These guitars feature a mahogany body. It has a 24 3/4 scale with a maple set in neck with a rosewood fretboard and 22 stainless steel ball end frets. It also features 𝗦liche 5 pickups, and this particular one comes in sort of like a Gibson custom-ish style with 7-ply binding. I'm doing air quotes, but you can't see me doing them, so I'm just gonna put it on screen. And all of that guitar comes in for around $250 to $350 depending on where you buy this guitar from. And here's what the neck dive is like on the Firefly. Okay, Firefly is up here. I just want to explain this before I get started. I'm using Stringjoy. This is the pack of Stringjoy strings I'm using. Tuning all of these guitars to C standard because that's what I'm playing in. And if you don't like that, then, you know, sorry. We'll get measurements on the neck and the pickups and all the good stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's start. Now, if you've seen any Firefly guitars, you probably know this stuff already. These guitars come with stainless steel ball end frets, and you can see the fretwork on here. It is pretty good. I have had these frets rise up before and had strings get caught under them, but for the most part, you know, the actual fretwork itself is pretty good. Now, this is actually listed as a rosewood fretboard, but it's very dark. I don't know. It looks kind of like a laminate to me. I don't know if that's just the way it's finished or what, but it just, you know, it does look like a laminate. I mean, we have grain in here, but you know, the grain is open. I'm not really sure. I am not a wood expert by any means. But there you go. And if all of these specs are accurate, you know, mahogany body, maple neck, rosewood fretboard, dark rosewood fretboard at that, stainless steel ball end frets, these are just kind of insane values for the money. Now, we don't need to go into this every time, but you guys get the idea, right? Let's get some strings on it. So up here at the nut, we're at 42.3 millimeters. That's 1.6655 inches. At the 12th fret, we're at 53.3 millimeters, or 2.10 inches. Thickness at the first fret, 22.37 millimeters, or 0.088 inches. And the thickness up here at the 12th fret, 24.67 millimeters, or 0.97 inches. And here's the neck profile. It is pretty round C. It's a little bit thick for my liking, but it is very round. We don't have big shoulders or anything like that on this neck profile, so it still is comfortable despite the thickness. Let's measure the output on the pickups. On the bridge, we're at a whopping 14.5. On the neck, 7.28. And in the middle, we're looking at 4.84. So that bridge pickup is very, very hot here. You know, there's not really much else to go over with these guitars. I mean, this is a new guitar, so I'm just gonna clean it up and restring it. If you've seen any of my videos where I've included Firefly guitars, then you sort of get where they are and where they fit in the market. You know, they're really, really great values for what you get, but they are Chinese import guitars. And, you know, there's just small things about them that people might not like. Like, do you wanna clean, professional looking binding? Well, this might not be the guitar for you. You know what I'm saying? That sort of stuff. But, you know, again, if you're willing to overlook a lot of the aesthetic stuff, you kind of get a crazy value for your money in terms of specs to dollars, you know? Let's clean it up and string it up. That's a weird catchphrase. Okay, the Firefly is all set up. This guitar really didn't require much in terms of setup, which isn't super uncommon. The pack of Stringjoy strings that I use to tune to C standard are based off of the tension you would get tuning like Ernie Ball 9s to E standard. So a lot of the time, you know, if the guitar is set up correctly when it comes to me, swapping strings doesn't require much, you know, in terms of setup. I did have to lower the strings though quite a bit. They're really high. But yeah, we're good. Let's plug it in. Greetings, my friends. I'm so happy to be here with you. We're starting off with the Firefly here. Let me explain the signal chain we're using in this video. I have the Firefly. Right at this moment, it'll be whatever guitar I'm playing through in my hands that you can see with your eyeballs. I need to explain that every time, I don't think. I have the Firefly plugged into this Boss SD1 Super Overdrive, and that's going into this Marshall JCM800 into my Mesa oversized cabinet. The Marshall JCM800 and the SD1 just kind of felt appropriate for this video to me for some reason. So yeah, let's do it. I'm also gonna need my tuner because these bitches are not gonna want to stay in tune. Where are you hiding? All right, well, okay, I guess. We use the little bullshit pedal to tune, I guess. Oh, let's turn the boost off, yeah? You know, tonally, just the guitar itself, it's not as like resonant and snappy as some of the others. Yeah, for what it is, it's pretty decent. It's very comfortable to play. I would say the neck is a little bit thicker than I would like. You know, it's just a little bit chonky. Let's try to make a clean channel with the JCM800. I did not pick the best amp for clean channels, but you know, we'll try. We'll do our best. Yeah, there's the bridge pickup. Let's go to the neck position. And the middle. For some reason, we have a very dead G string. That's what she said. It's weird. Looking at the nut here, the nut might be cut a little bit too low on the G string. That might be what's going on here. I gotta get back to the chugs, yeah. Oh my God, there it is. Holy shit. Yes. Very hot pickups. Let's try boosting this guy, huh? And just so you guys know, I'm not gonna be touching the amp in between different guitars, so I'm gonna leave the settings, everything, exactly the same, so that way, if there are differences, even though they might be subtle, you can still tell them. The only thing is I'm going to have to turn down the preamp a little bit to get a cleanish signal out of it to do the pickup test. Not a bad guitar to play. It's pretty comfortable. Like I said, the neck is a little bit thick for my personal taste, but you know, your mileage may vary on that. And it's a relatively good looking guitar too. Not even just for the money, just, you know, the guitar itself is relatively good looking. Now, some of my not favorite things about this, I'm not a huge fan of the headstock, and I know that seems petty, but if you're a guitar player, you know, we're all petty about headstocks. That's what guitar players are. Just a few little weird spots, like, you know, in the binding, stuff like that. But, you know, nothing that's like really offensive. You know, I feel like I could say this over and over again. It's an inexpensive guitar, is what it is. Okay, let's move over to one of the Epiphones now. Oh man, look. Oh, that's actually badass. It feels like it's in one piece. If you could tell which one that is. Yeah, it says metalheads, so this thing smells like cigarettes, gross. But it's used, what are you gonna do? This gig bag needs to be just washed. I don't know which one this is. I ordered 2 of them, but, oh, sick, this is the Thunderhorse. Okay, cool. So this is the Epiphone Thunderhorse. You know, the guitar itself is in good shape. It's just really gross. It's really dirty. It needs to be like fucking cleaned. We have the mini Grover buttons on here, which is kind of weird seeing them in person, but I need to strip this whole thing down and clean it. This neck is a fucking chonker too. It's a little bit thicker than I thought it would be, but the nut looks really good. Like the guitar itself looks like it's in really good shape. It just looks like it was in a house where you had a greasy smoker. That's the way I would describe this. So, the Epiphone Thunderhorse weighs 9 pounds, 1.9 ounces. This is not, you know, if you buy used guitars, a lot of times you're gonna come across ones that smell like cigarettes. That's just part of the deal. There's something in this gig bag. Oh, it's like a Gibson guitar strap. Okay. That's kind of neat. This is the Epiphone Thunderhorse. Like I mentioned, it is a signature guitar from Brendon Small from 𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹 fame. It features a mahogany body, has a 24 3/4 inch scale with a mahogany set-in neck, a phenolic fingerboard with a 12-inch radius perloid dot inlays, 22 medium jumbo frets. The neck features a 60s slim taper D profile, which I'm going to be honest with you, it feels pretty chunky to call it a slim taper. More on that when we measure it. It also features Gibson burst bucker pickups, coil tap controls via push-pull pots. It also comes with Grover mini rotomatic tuners, a Locktone tunematic bridge and stop bar tailpiece. And the best part, in my opinion, is this silver burst finish with the cream binding. And here's the neck dive on the Thunderhorse. So in this instance, I'm skipping some of my preliminary testing that I would do in this video, which hopefully doesn't come to bite me in the ass later on. But actually, the reason that I want to jump right into this is I left these guitars in my room over the holidays, and now it stinks out here. Like, it smells really bad. That was a mistake. If you buy a guitar and it smells like cigarettes, do not leave it in a room that you occupy regularly. Unless you like that smell. I don't know. I'm not telling you how to live your life, but we'll just put that up on the bench and we'll get started with that. All right, now normally I would be addressing issues right here, which I guess I am technically. I'm going to start with cleaning this guitar thoroughly to try and get some of the smell out of it. Now, I'm sure some of you have better solutions than me. I'm just gonna use some normal, like, household cleaners. You know, we use environmentally conscious, non-toxic cleaners, if that matters to you. Since it's high gloss, I'm not really worried about using anything. I mean, I'm sure you could use dish soap or whatever. I'm sure a lot of you have much better suggestions. Definitely leave those in the comments, but that's what I'm gonna do. And then I'm just gonna go back over it with this polishing stuff that I bought off Amazon. This doesn't really have a smell to it. It just smells like clean, which is better than how it smells now. And then we'll come through and get all the measurements and everything and condition the neck and do all that good stuff. Okay? Okay, I think I've scrubbed this thing down pretty well for the most part. I have the pickups pulled out. You can see these are burst buckers. BB2, BB1 in the neck. You can actually see the neck tendon here, which I thought was kind of cool. This fretboard cleaned up so well. Like, it looks brand new. I'm not sure what this is. Actually, I don't really see any grain in this fretboard. I haven't looked up the specs yet, but I'm really curious to see what type of wood this is, or if it's like, you know, Richlite or something. I decided to pull the tuners off. I think all of the hardware actually just needs like a deep scrubbing and cleaning. It just seems like, from what I'm looking at, it probably didn't get played that much. It was probably just in a room where someone was heavily smoking, like maybe a practice space or something like that, and probably in the case for a huge chunk of its life, because I think the case is actually where the majority of the odor is coming from. Okay, so I looked up the fingerboard material, and interestingly enough, this is not actual wood, which makes sense. You know, it looked like laminate or something. It's called phenolic, and what phenolic is essentially like a resin and wood sort of material. It's like a resin and paper sort of material, like laminate flooring or something like that. So now that we have that all cleared up, let's get some measurements on this guy, huh? We're at 42.4 millimeters at the nut, or 1.66 inches. Up here at the 12th fret, we are at 54.14 millimeters, or 2.13 inches. This is listed as a 60s slim taper D profile. I don't know if that's different than Gibson's normal slim taper profile. I'm assuming it's just the same, except it's D instead of C-shaped. I could be wrong on that. This actually seems kind of thick for a slim taper profile for me, but up here we are 22.34 millimeters, which translates to 0.878 inches. And then up here at the 12th fret, we are at 24.44 millimeters, or 9.58 inches. 0.958 inches. Sorry. So that seems pretty thick for a slim taper neck to me. You know, it is gloss finish on the back. That could be adding a little bit of thickness to it, but I think the fact that it's a D-shaped profile, it's probably just, you know, a little bit thicker than the normal 60s slim taper profile. Let's measure the pickups. This doesn't make sense. Something is not right here. So this is fun. You remember earlier when I was talking about testing these guitars first? Hopefully it doesn't come to bite me in the ass later on. It's the reason you want to test guitars before you start opening them up. I was going to do the pickup readings for you guys, and I couldn't get a good pickup reading out of this guitar. Like, it was measuring way low, like 0.22 or something like that. And these should be in the 7 to 8 range, somewhere in there, you know, for burst bucker pickups. And so I pulled this whole thing apart, measuring things, trying to figure out if there was a short, what was going on there, and let me show you what I found. So down here, if you can see this little white wire, I'm not sure what it was shorting out on, but just like tugging on it, changed the resistance. Like maybe it was just some corrosion or something, or it wasn't getting a good connection somehow. I'm not really sure, but I was just moving wires out of the way, watching my measurements here, and then I started getting the correct reading, so. You know, when you buy used guitars, you come across weird things sometimes. But yeah, let's get the readings on these guys here. So on the bridge, we're at 7.88, which is like normal range for a burst bucker pickup. The neck, we're at 7.41. In the middle, 3.83. The bridge with the coil split is 4.05. The neck with the coil split, 3.81. And the middle with both coil splits, 1.97. And if you coil split one side, you get 2.57, and if you go coil split on the bridge and not the neck, 2.62. This guitar is mostly cleaned up, but there's just ever so faintly still the smell of smoke on it. I am going to do another really deep cleaning, put everything back together, and then we'll address any fret issues. Like, I'm gonna check the frets and make sure they're all level. I'm sure it's fine. This guitar looks like it was hardly played at all, but do your due diligence, right? If I've learned anything from not testing before getting it on the bench, check first. Measure twice, cut once, I guess. Maybe that applies here. Now, speaking of guitars that are a good value for the money, all things considered, I do think that both Epiphones in this video are a really good value for the money because, you know, for what you're getting with this guitar, you're getting Gibson burst bucker pickups in it. This guitar is a chonker too. It's a very heavy boy. Like, if that matters to you, I can feel the weight in this guitar, definitely. The neck actually feels the same as the Firefly in terms of its thickness. It actually feels much more comfortable to play, and I was able to get the action on the strings lower on this guitar. Like, the setup is just better. You know, I don't have that dead G string on this guitar with the way it's set up too. Small things, but I feel like those details are probably pretty important. And I always get comments in these types of videos where people will say things like,
I didn't hear a difference in between any of these guitars.
And I also get comments where people are like,
wow, that expensive guitar sounds so much better, I can't believe it.
I will let you come to your own conclusions on where those comments come from. But in my opinion, I don't think there's a dramatic difference in between the sound of this guitar and the Firefly, for example. But you do have Gibson pickups with this guitar. It is definitely a selling point. The aesthetic of this guitar though, I really like a lot more. It's a very traditional look. You know, if you like that traditional Explorer look and you don't want someone's take on it, then you might prefer the Epiphone. Let's go to a clean channel. Here's the bridge. Here's the neck. And we do have coil splits on this. Yeah, we do. Here's the neck coil split. Here's the bridge coil split. Here's both coil split. Neck coil split, bridge full humbucker. And then vice versa. So, insane amount of sounds that you get with the guitar, the pickup configuration, and the selection, and all that. And again, I just think that this guitar was a really incredible value. I think that Epiphones in general have sort of been earning my respect a lot as of late, as I try out more of them, especially against their more expensive counterparts. You know, I've been finding a lot that I actually vibe with Epiphones a lot more than I ever thought I would. I like this one a lot. I like the lore behind it a lot, the death clock lore behind it. It's just, you know, it's a cool instrument. Let's move on to the next one, which is the Ghosthorse. This is the Epiphone Ghosthorse, which is the other Epiphone from Brendon's /𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹. Now this body shape is slightly modified. It is still mahogany, but this time it comes with a flame maple veneer top. This guitar still has a 24 and slightly less than 3/4 scale. It also has a mahogany neck, but this time with 24 jumbo frets, and that is where the body modification comes in. We have a deeper cutaway to access that 24th fret. Kind of. It doesn't really work that great. More on that later. The neck profile is listed as just slim taper. It doesn't say 60s or anything like that. The fingerboard on this guitar is made out of ebony, like real ebony, and it has a white binding. And we also have this cool Icarus spaceship inlay at the 12th fret. It features a Floyd Rose 1000 bridge and locking nut. Now, one of the cooler features on this guitar, in my opinion, is the entire back of this guitar is satin finished, including the neck, which feels really, really nice in the hands. It also has a contoured heel, which you don't really see much on Gibsons besides like the newer modern studios. It comes with the same Grover Mini Rotomatic 18-to-1 tuners, the same Gibson Burstbucker pickups with coil splits, except this time we only have 2 volume controls. We don't have a tone knob on this one, which is great in my opinion. Here's the neck dive on the Ghosthorse. This one is in significantly better condition. I would actually say that this is pretty mint. So honestly, if we're looking at Epiphone versus Gibson versus Gibson or whatever guitar makes it into this video, this is probably a much more fair and honest comparison since it's much less used, if you follow me on that. With that being said, there are gonna be some glaring issues with this guitar. We will get into all that. Yeah, because there's a lot I want to talk about with this. So, you know, we gotta take the strings off and start getting into things. Okay, this guitar doesn't need nearly as much cleaning, so we can just jump into measuring things. But I want to point out right away that this guitar is kind of an insane value. You know, they pretty much sell used as much as they would sell for new when they came out. I think they were right around $799, $899, and I'll correct myself in the editing if I'm wrong, but right around $800 to $900. And for that, you have a mahogany body, a mahogany neck, an ebony fretboard, Burstbucker pickups, and a Floyd Rose 1000. That's a really good deal. That's a really, really good deal. Let's quit yapping and measure, huh? Okay, this is more in line with my experience with the slim taper neck, so bear that in mind. We are at 20.65 millimeters at the first fret, which is 0.81 inches, and 23.66 millimeters at the 12th fret, which is 0.92, basically 0.93 inches. We're at 43.7 millimeters wide at the nut, which is 1.72 inches, and 53.25 millimeters wide at the 12th fret, which is, you know, basically 2.1 inches. So this actually makes a lot of sense too, because I did find this neck much more comfortable, and I didn't know how much of that was the satin finish versus the gloss finish, which I'm sure is a factor as well, but this neck is actually significantly thinner, you know, this way. The Ghosthorse weighs 8 pounds, 6.8 ounces. That's with the whammy bar, by the way. Now, despite having an ebony board and binding and much better fittings, I guess you would call them, it does have one thing that kind of bothers me, and I've noticed this with other Epiphone guitars. The frets, they're very like angular right here. It's almost like they don't get rounded around the corners, and it can actually feel like they have fret sprout when they don't. I could go through with a file and I could like smooth all these out if I wanted to. I'm not gonna go through all that hassle. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And here's an up close of the top. It is a flame maple veneer, you know, as opposed to a normal top, but it looks very, very good. You know, it is not like a fake printed veneer. It is an actual maple veneer. If you've seen fake printed veneers, you know how bad they look. So this is not that at all. Since this is used, let's pull out the pickups and make sure that no one swapped them or anything, that we're actually measuring Burstbuckers, because, you know. Okay, so despite them being upside down, you can see that these are in fact the original burst bucker pickups. I also have a UPC code in here. All right, so when I first turned this on, I got a big spike that I wasn't expecting, but you know, this is very similar to the other pickups where it's 7.91 on the bridge, 7.54 on the neck, 3.85 in the middle there. When we coil split the bridge, we're at 4.06. We coil split the neck, we're at 3.8786. Both coil splits on in the middle, we're at 1.98. With the bridge coil split in the middle, we're at 2.64. And with the neck coil split in the middle, we're at 2.60. There's a lot of measurements there, but now you know what they are. Okay, just thought I should explain this in case you just saw me adjusting the shit out of that truss rod. This thing was way over tightened. Even when it had the strings on it, it had a sitar thing going on, you know, with the strings, like they were fretting out pretty bad, and now I know why. Because it was actually over tightened. This post right here on the Floyd Rose, which adjusts the height on this side of the bridge, was locked up. I could not get it to go down, and it was also stuck trying to get it up to come out. So I had to take the whole thing off completely and use some lubricating oil to get in there and just pry it loose. And then once I did, I just used the oil to get in there and penetrate everything, and then I cleaned it out, and then I re-oiled it and put the thing back in there now, and now it moves freely, it moves fine. A little bit of a weird situation there. You probably saw me cut the strings before that happened. Maybe that was a little bit preemptive. You know, I didn't think that I was gonna come across this problem, because I did have to take the strings out of the Floyd Rose, and if you've ever had to do that, after you've cut them at the headstock, then you know it's kind of difficult to get the whole thing back together because you don't have the same length of string to work with. Luckily, it was fine. It's all good. Everything's back together now. Oh, that's right. We have two volume knobs. That always messes me up. All right, so this is the Ghosthorse. You guys have been watching the video, right? You know what guitar this is. I don't need to explain the lore every time. But this is the Ghosthorse. Now, you'd think that this would be my preferred guitar out of the bunch, and I don't think it is. I'm gonna save all of my opinions until the end of the video, as much as I can. I have a hard time not saying things. But despite this seeming to have all of the specifications that I would enjoy in a guitar, I don't know. You know, there's just something about the body being a little bit different. You know, we do have this carved out spot here for your hand to get up here, but it's not really helping much. You know, I feel like it could have just been 22 frets. That would have been fine. I'm not mad at it for being 24 frets or anything, but let's check out the pickups. The neck. The middle. The bridge coil tapped. The neck coil tapped. Both coil tapped. Both with the neck coil tapped and the bridge in full humbucker mode. Vice versa. Let's go back to the high gain sounds. I like this guitar a lot too. Don't get me wrong. I think this is a really good one as well. And again, you could say that this guitar is even arguably a better value for the money than the Thunderhorse. The actual ebony fretboard, not that weird composite fretboard that's on the other one. You have a Floyd Rose 1000 on it, which on a sub $1,000 guitar is pretty impressive. You know, the Grover mini tuners, the Gibson humbucker. Like, there's a lot of great things to like about this guitar. But something about the vibe of the Thunderhorse, man, that's just, it's like I think they kind of nailed it. We have one more guitar to get to in this list, and that is, of course, the actual Gibson Explorer. I've really enjoyed the Gibson guitars that I played, and I kind of want to start adding some Gibsons to the collection, and maybe the Gibson Explorer will be one of them. And of course, it's a Gibson, so it comes in a very nice, hard case. Say what you want about Gibson guitars, a lot of valid criticism there, but at least they do give you a hard case with their guitars, like a nice hard case. More than I can say about a lot of guitar manufacturers, especially in this price range, surprisingly. This is kind of an interesting case, dude. Look at it. It's got this like orange piping. I love the satin gold on it. Here we go. This is a 70s reissue Explorer in the natural finish. Now, I did want to try this out in the black version, obviously, because I'm me, but they didn't have it. They only had this color in stock, and if I was going to get this video done, I had to deal with it being in the natural finish. But I think it's actually cool because, you know, like I have so many black guitars. This is surprisingly light. I think part of me just expected this to be much heavier than it actually is, just because, you know, it's a Gibson, I guess. 7 pounds, 4.7 ounces. Not bad. And the last chunk of wood on this list is the Gibson 70s reissue Explorer in antique natural. Like most of the other guitars on this list, it is a 24 3/4 inch scale guitar. It is a mahogany guitar with a set mahogany neck, a 12-inch radius, and a rosewood fretboard with 22 frets. The neck shape is listed as slim taper, and I would say it's the most slimmiest, taperiest out of all of the guitars in this list. It has an aluminum Nashville Tune-o-matic bridge and stop bar tailpiece. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions on these. Feel free to leave yours in the comments. We have Grover mini rotomatic tuners, and this guitar comes with Gibson 70s tribute humbuckers. More on that when we test them. It has the traditional Gibson gloss nitrocellulose lacquer finish, and also fret nibs, if you like fret nibs. And here's the neck dive on the Gibson. There isn't any. Okay, and here we have the Gibson Explorer. A few things I want to point out on this. This model of Explorer does have fret nibs, if that's important to you. The fretboard here is definitely rosewood. It's pretty dry, so we are going to clean this, even though it's brand new, but it does feel pretty dry. Everything else looks pretty standard, you know, what you would expect from a Gibson. Let's get some measurements. Now, out of the box, and take this with a grain of salt because obviously both of the Epiphones in this video were used, but out of the box, the setup on this guitar was very, very good. It felt really great in the hands. I'm interested to see the neck measurements because it felt the most comfortable out of all of them to me. But let's see what the actual measurements are on the neck here. So the width at the nut is 43.49 millimeters or 1.71 inches. Up at the 12th, we're at 53.25 millimeters or 2.09 inches. Thickness at the first fret, 20.36 millimeters or 0.80 inches. Up here at the 24th fret, we're at 22.93 millimeters or 0.90 inches. Okay, so the neck profile here is pretty thin. Nothing like a 59 Gibson neck or something like that. If you actually look at the neck profile here, you can see the contour here, and I would say it's pretty much, you know, just your typical C contour. It doesn't have bulky shoulders at all, so it feels really good in the hands. Okay, let's get pickup measurements. Up here at the bridge, we're at 14.26. Very hot bridge pickup. And at the neck, we're at 15.65. So just hot pickups altogether. And in the middle, that puts us at 7.4647. There's no coil tapping or anything on this guitar, so there you go. We gotta do something about that. That's a problem. So when I was setting up this guitar, I failed to see that the pickup height was a little bit too high for how low I took the action. Since I'm playing these guitars back to back right now, just to give you my first impressions on this guy, this actually plays the best out of the whole bunch. Now, of course, that is in part due to the setup, but you know, like I was saying with that Firefly guitar earlier, it's just like what you're capable of getting out of each guitar will vary a little bit, you know? When I first started this video, I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of was already a little bit biased towards the Gibson. And just with my experience with the Les Paul video, yeah, the Gibson was nicer, but it wasn't like 4 times as nice, or 3.5 times as nice as the Epiphone. I'm having a hard time with it because this guitar is not $4,000, it's like $2,600. And the Epiphones in the price range we're just looking at are probably about $1,000 now. So, you know, like 2.5 times more. It's really nice, man. But let's just do the clean pickup test here. Here's the neck. And here's the middle. Just really, really resonant and very, very warm. I gotta look up what kind of pickups are in these now. I haven't done the spec read yet. 70s tribute humbuckers with Alnico 5 magnets and extra winds for high octane sounds. Okay, so this has 70s tribute pickups in it. Quite a bit different than the burst buckers. If you noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed in the room, they're much, much warmer. They're much warmer, more full sounding. Okay, I wanted to give you a more thoughtful takeaway this time around. I think all of these guitars are great for different reasons. I know that's not a simple answer, but just hear me out. The Firefly is great for extreme budgets. That's what it has going for it. You get insane specs for the money. I do wonder how much of those specs are legit though, because they do seem too good to be true. But as far as I know, and I can tell with my own hands, they're pretty legit. The craftsmanship is not the best. You can tell in little things like the binding, it's always kind of wonky on these guitars, but the important parts of the guitars have always been great from my experience. If you don't want to pay the brand tax, then I think it's a perfectly reasonable instrument. Next, we have both Epiphones. I'm just gonna lump them together here. I said it in the video, but I get impressed every time I play an Epiphone, especially as someone who associates the Epiphone brand with skinny jeans and swoopy hair. You know, the bandmate that still has mom drop him off at practice with his Epiphone and his 𝗦ci 𝗰𝗶𝗹 he got for Christmas? Just me? Anyways, I've been really impressed with all of the Epiphone guitars that I played. All of them had pretty good features for the money, and the craftsmanship, while not on par with Gibson, was still respectable enough to be looked at as a good alternative if you could not or would not afford a Gibson. Now, these two guitars in particular, while no longer being produced, still had great spec to price ratios when they released. I prefer different aspects of each of them, but I feel a strong pull towards the Thunderhorse, surprisingly, since the Ghosthorse is more spec specific to my own preferences. There's just something really cool about the Thunderhorse. Maybe it's the ad they did with 𝗦ci 𝗰𝗶𝗹.
You can shreds on it. You can play slows if you feels like doing that, if you can find a reason to do that. Why would anyone want to?
Maybe it's the silver burst finish. I'm not really sure. I just feel like I'm having a more authentic experience when I'm playing it. Did you get it? That's my joke for this video. The Ghosthorse is great too. Yeah, the trim cavity isn't cut out all the way and you can only dive bomb on it, but who cares? You get a Floyd Rose 1000 series tremolo, which is pretty awesome. You have a real ebony board over the synthetic fretboard from the Thunderhorse. It has 24 frets and a deeper cutaway for fret access, although if we're being real, that access is more of a novelty than a utility. I also really enjoyed the swooped heel and the flat finish on the back of the neck. Maybe I'll vibe with that one more in the future. I'm not really sure, but they are both cool enough to want to keep. It also helps that they're somewhat collector's items for metalheads fans, if you know what I mean. Lastly, we have the 70s reissue Gibson. I have some mixed feelings about this guitar. It was the nicest to play by quite a bit. It's also the lightest out of the bunch if that's a concern for you with these larger instruments. I'm personally not a fan of the pickups. I kind of preferred the burst buckers, but like all the other Gibsons I played, that guitar did feel really great in the hands and I enjoyed my time with it a lot. If money was no object, I would choose this guitar by a good margin. But money is an object for most of us, and because of that, I'd probably go with the Epiphone again in this video. I think that if it's important to you to have a Gibson with its fret nibs and all the other little things that the brand is known for, then more power to you. But like with the Les Paul Custom from the last video, you just need to decide if a guitar that's maybe 10 or even 15% better is worth 300% more of your money. For most people, I feel like it's probably not. And obviously, like I said before, if you want to spend the least amount of money humanly possible and get a really decent guitar, there's nothing wrong with a Firefly. There's not really any losers in this list. Okay, shout out to Guitar Center who came through for me on this video. I absolutely could not have made it without their help, but more importantly, shout out to the most important people, you guys, because without you, there's no me. Like Santa Claus for guitar nerds or something. Okay, I'm really stoked. I think this next year is going to be a blast on the channel, and I'm just really excited to get into the swing of things and start making videos and all that stuff again. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I will see you guys in the next one.